Well, here we are at the end of Trump impeachment trial number two. Um, and of course, Trump is found not guilty, 57 vote to convict, 43 vote not to convict. Okay, and you need a 2/3 vote. And so then at the end of all of this, after Trump is found not guilty, the Senate Republican leader, remember Trump's a Republican, the Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, stands up and just lays right into Trump. Now, what's that all about? Okay, McConnell says that Trump is liable for civil and criminal penalties, that while McConnell voted not guilty, nevertheless, Trump strongly implies that Trump should be brought up on criminal charges and on civil charges. So why vote no? And McConnell says that the plain language of the Constitution is that you can't try somebody who's not in office. Now, I strongly disagree with that, strongly. But that doesn't mean that McConnell is putting forward an aberrant kind of ideology. The founders were hesitant about even putting impeachment into the Constitution. And why were they hesitant to put impeachment in? And it's for a couple of reasons. First off, they didn't want the executive branch to be beholden, to be under the thumb of the legislative branch. They strongly believed in the separation of powers. But another reason is because of what was going on in England at this time. A fellow by the name of Warren Hastings, who had been the first Governor General of India, Hastings had been impeached 4 years after he'd left office. Hastings had made, quote unquote, the wrong political enemies and had the wrong political ideology. And although his behavior, his conduct of his office as Governor General of India was not was okay, nevertheless, his enemies went after him, and they basically ruined him. Took away his savings, almost forced him to being a beggar at one point. And so Hastings, the Hastings case was before it was in front of the framers of the Constitution. So some felt that the Constitution shouldn't even have impeachment in it, because impeachment can be used for personal vendettas, which fit Hastings, and political revenge, which fit Hastings. And so they wanted to get rid of that. So after they decided they did have to have some kind of mechanism to get rid of a rogue member of the executive branch or a rogue judge, they now had the problem of trying to make it so narrow that personal vendettas and political revenge wouldn't count into it. And so what they did was they made the chart. In England, you could get impeached on anything. In America, they tried to make impeachment narrow to high crimes, basically felonies, misdemeanors, which is an old formula, which means misbehaviors. It's not like what misdemeanor means today. Treason, where you side against your country with an enemy, and bribery, in which you obviously accept money for improper purposes. And that's it. So it's narrow. And when you go to convict someone, you need a 2/3 vote. So that, how many political parties ever have 2/3 of the Senate? And so it happens rarely, though. And so as a result, it's really hard to get impeached and convicted in the United States. And it hasn't happened many times. And they meant to make it hard. And Mitch McConnell is correct in saying that this is a very narrow construction, and he is at least somewhat correct as to the intent of the founders. Having said that, we have two cases, and only two cases, in which somebody is tried out of office. The one is William Blount, who was caught in his own handwriting, selling out to the American Indian tribes and selling out to the British to enrich his family, particularly because they had been speculating in land holdings. And the other one was William Belknap, Grant's Secretary of War, who basically stuffed the War Department into his pocket. So, both cases pretty much open and shut, and they impeach them when they are out of office, and they try them when they're out of office. And you know what? In both instances, we're talking about very severe actions. That is the weight of what Blount and Belknap had done was sufficient to have the Senate vote 50% plus one to try somebody out of office. So my position is this: it's up to the Senate. If the issue at hand is so serious that you should have a trial, then by God, the Senate should be able to try them. But I recognize that partisan passions and personal revenge and all of that need to be restrained in the removal of officers or judges. And you just can't do this willy-nilly, just, go around getting rid of people. That's why it's a 2/3 vote to convict. So on one hand, I understand Mitch McConnell's objections. I suggest, though, that it's entirely up to the Senate in their collective wisdom, to make that decision. It doesn't bind any senator, but binds the Senate. And if they want to have a trial, they can. And if they don't, they don't. And by the way, precedent does not bind the Senate or the House. If the next Senate decides, nah, you know what, this guy or gal is out of office, we can't try them, that's their decision. It's up to the Senate to decide whether or not an issue is of significant seriousness to hold a trial once somebody is out of office. And the only case I can think of where essentially the House makes a decision not to try somebody because they're out of office is the Richard Nixon case. Nixon resigns and the House says, okay, go away. And they drop impeachment proceedings. But otherwise, this is all we know about Warren Hastings and how the Constitution was written and the Blount case and the Belknap case. It all indicates that it's up to the House to decide whether the issue is significant enough to continue to impeach, and the Senate as to whether the issue is sufficient enough to continue to try. That's my position. I respect McConnell's position. I understand McConnell's position. I don't happen to agree with it. Okay, doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's wrong, but certainly there are two different views here, and I'm right. Anyway, everybody out there, take care, stay safe, and above all, stay healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.